So when you're approaching other musicians to be in this group and you say, hey, I'm starting like a jazz infused kind of thing, I play the steel drums. What's the reaction?
Well, luckily I haven't really had to deal with that too much, just because in the early days when I was in college and was friends, we all knew each other, and it was normal that I was doing what I was doing because in music school, studying composition, and everyone's kind of on the same page, with music students. So I never really had to explain to the musicians what was going on. Everyone who I play with automatically gets it, pretty much. Yeah.
And so you've made this record that's coming out in July, and
right.
It's got your band on it, obviously, the Forchestra.
Right.
All three of them.
All three of them.
All three of the Forchestra. But you've also got Victor Wooten on there, Casey Dreesen.
Yep.
How did that happen? Were they just wandering through the studio and you?
Well, as far as, we'll start with Casey. Like, I met Casey when he was playing with Abigail Washburn and the Sparrow Quartet, and we just traded information, just kept in touch, and we've played a lot of shows together over the years, and he's a good friend of mine. He lives in Asheville now, so it's a very natural connection. Just my old buddy Casey, just call him up to play violin. But Victor, that's a pretty crazy deal for me, just because the Flecktones are such a huge influence on what I do, and I've been following those guys forever, and so it's an honor to be able to work with those guys, or with Victor, and also Howard Levy. But how it comes about is, I don't know if we have all the time in the world to talk about how that came about, but just just years of like
Stalking them?
You could say that.
I mean, in a positive stalking way.
In the beginning, yeah, like years of like coming to the show at 4 o'clock in the afternoon when they're loading in, back in 07 and 08, to eventually getting to sit in at sound check with the Flecktones and stuff like that, and just like years of developing those type of relationships. Yeah, and then finally, 7 years later from when I first was introduced to Victor, calling him up and saying, hey, I'm doing this record, you want to be on it? He said, sure. So like, at the end, it seems all easy, but it took a while to get to that point.
And what's the record called?
Well, it's actually a self-titled record. It's called Jonothan Scales Orchestra. It's kind of my fourth record, but it's also the first band collaborative record. So we have Phil Bronson on the drums, who's amazing, beast of a drummer. He's been in the band for about 3 years now. And then Cody Wright, bass player, he's been in the band for about 2 years, 2.5 years. And we're the core group of the Orchestra, all three of us. And then on this record, it's fully orchestrated with horns and strings. So we have Casey Dreesen on violins, and we have Franklin Keel on cellos, and we have Justin Ray on the trumpet, Jacob Rodriguez on saxophone, Derek Johnson on the trombone.
So it's a big record. It's a big sounding record.
It's pretty massive, not in the sense of like, whoa, I'm doing this big thing, but like it's kind of cinematic. It kind of has a feel of like a soundtrack in a way.
Yeah.
Just because it's really very, very produced, like big sounding record.